everyone, welcome to another fun day of learning. I am teacher Christine and I invite you to the wonderful world of language learning. Language is defined as a system of arbitrary sounds used by a community for communication. Today, the world has about 7,000 languages. That many! The Philippine languages can be defined and described in three different ways. First, according to its geography. Second, according to its linguistic or genetic relationships. And third, according to its typology. We will be exploring these three today. Philippine languages is influenced by Austronesian languages as validated by the Komisyon sa Wikang Filipino. There are approximately 130 Philippine languages. In today's topic, we will be tackling on the structure of Philippine languages, focusing on one of the major languages in the Philippines, the Bikol. Are you ready? Let us begin. The Philippines has 8 major languages listed in the figure from top to bottom. These are Bicol, Cebuano, Hiligaynon or Ilonggo, Ilocano, Kapampangan, Pangasinan, Tagalog, and Waray. The language being taught all over the Philippines is Tagalog or Filipino and English. But in this presentation, we will explore the Bicol region. Bicol, or Bicolano in Spanish, is the 5th largest cultural linguistic group in the Philippines, numbering about 4,070,000 in the late 20th centuries. Their indigenous region is commonly considered to be Bicolandia, a region composing part of the Bicol Peninsula and neighboring islands of the southeast Luzon. The Bicol region has 6 provinces. It is composed of Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Albay, Sorsogon, Catanduanes, and Masbate. Bicol is the adventure capital of the Philippines, and it is well known for its active volcanoes, tranquil whale sharks, and secret beaches and spicy foods. These are the content for today's presentation. First, let us discover the background of the language speakers, their culture and tradition, and the geographic distribution of the Bicol region. Next, we will learn the linguistic classification of the Bicol language and discover their syntax or language structure. The Bicol are largely an agricultural and rural people, producing rice, coconuts, and hemp. Nearly all of them are Roman Catholics. Their language is closely related to others of the central Philippines, all of which belonging to the Austronesian Malayo-Polynesian family of languages. The traits of the Bicolano are a byproduct of various foreign and domestic regional influences that have been assimilated into its indigenous cultures in the course of history. Here are some of their distinguished traits. First, Bicolano is deeply religious. In fact, most of their festivals and celebrations are anchored to their religious beliefs. Second, they are very friendly and sweet. They value close family ties and they talk a lot. They look at talking as alibangan or palipas oras. According to the folk epic entitled Ibalong, the people of the region were formerly called Ibalong or Ibalnong, a name believed to have been derived from the god Ibal who ruled Sawangon, now the city of Legazpi, in the ancient times. Ibalong used to mean the people of Ibal. Eventually, this was shortened to Ibalon. The word Bicol, which replaced Ibalon, was originally Bicod, meaning meandering, a word which supposedly described the principal river of the area. Bicolanos have a high percentage of Spanish introgression. A government-sponsored study shows that 20% of the population have Hispanic ancestry. Bicolanos are also the ethnic group with the second largest amount of Spaniards, Hispanics, as a percentage of the population after Chavacanos. The Bicol region has an array of cultural sites that showcase its rich history. Originally descended from incomers from China, the inhabitants of Bicol, often mixed Chinese, Arab, and Spanish ancestry, contributed to the diversity, and the beauty of the Bicol region. Bicol is also famed for its spicy food, which is based largely on coconut and chilies, as evidenced in the likes of gulay na lada or Bicol Express. Other dishes not to miss are laing, or taro leaves with meat or seafood in coconut milk, spiced with chili, lemongrass, and more, and local specialties featuring local pili nuts. Here are some of the festivals that is celebrated in the Bicol region. First, we have the Tinagba Festival, which happens in Iriga City in the month of February. It is a harvest Thanksgiving including parades, street dancing, and sporting challenges. Another one is the Ibalong Festival or in Legazpi in the month of August. It is a celebration of a local legend, which is the Epic of Ibalong, with masked and costumed reconstructions of the classic battles. And lastly, we have the Peña Francia Festival in Naga in the month of September. It is a barge procession, fireworks, and more, celebrating Bicol's patron, Our Lady of Peña Francia. Let us move on to the geographic distribution of the Bicol region. As I have mentioned, Bicol has 6 main islands, which are Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Albay, Sorsogon, Catanduanes, and Masbate. It has 7 major cities, which are Iriga, Legazpi, Ligao, Masbate, Naga, Sorsogon, and Tabaco. It also has 107 municipalities, 3,471 barangays, and 16 congressional districts. Karamuran, a peninsula in the east, is dotted with caves, limestones, cliffs, and white sand beaches. Nearby, Catanduanes Island has mountains, waterfalls, and coral reefs. Don Sol in the west is home to whale sharks. The region's active volcanoes include Bulusan Volcano and the Mayun volcanoes. The largest city is Legazpi. The capital of Albay, and the Bicol region is bounded by the Lamon Bay to the north, the Philippine Sea to the east, and the Sibuyan Sea and Ragay Gulf to the west. Bicol region is highly volcanic in origin and part of the Pacific Ring of Fire known as the Bicol Volcanic Arc or Chain. Although it is surrounded by seas and oceans, it is also a rich flatland, and agricultural is the largest component of the economy, followed by the commercial fishing. It is best known for its tourist spots like Mayon Volcano, which is the symbol and the most associated tourist spots in the province. Now, let us proceed to the language family or the linguistic classification of the Bicol language. Bicol is one of the 8 major languages spoken in the Philippines. There are an estimate of 50 different dialects in the Bicol language used by the Bicolanos. The Bicolano language is very fragmented, and its dialects are mutually incomprehensible to speakers of other Bicolano dialects. We will discover this later on why. The language is greatly influenced by Spanish language. That is why there are Spanish terminologies integrated in Bicol language that are still used by the Bicolanos today. Here, we can see the distribution and classification of the Bicol language. Dr. Jason Lovell, a linguist specializing in Central Philippine languages, wrote that there are 4 languages called Bicol. These 4 languages have 12 main dialects in total. These 4 languages are Northern Coastal Bicol or the Central Bicol, the Southern Coastal and the Inland Bicol, the Bisacol, and the Northern Catanduanes Bicol. The language in the province is very diverse. The primary language used in the province is Central Bicol, which is the native tongue of the population of the eastern coast. Generally, the Bicol dialect spoken in Legazpi and Albay is the common tongue, including the Bisacol. The Bicolanos speak several languages of the Bicol language family, including Tagalog and the Visayan languages. The division of the language into different dialects are mainly because of the influence from other Bicol languages and other languages surrounding the region. Let's move on to the structure or syntax of the Bikol language. In linguistics, syntax is the study of how words or morphemes combine to form larger units such as phrases and sentences. So in this phase, we will learn some of the common words or units used in the Bikol language. We will also explore some of the grammatical features, and we will also discover the differences in the language of the different region Bikol dialects used in the region. As I have mentioned before, the Bicol language and its dialects are fragmented. There are instances where the dialect speakers misunderstand each other due to the variation of terms used in the language. Although they are influenced by Spanish origin altogether and the Austronesian sources, these languages and dialects have evolved through time and further influenced by the surrounding regions. Let's see the example given. These are some of the common dialects used in Bicol. Let's have the Kanaman dialect as the standard dialect to compare with others. The Kanaman dialect is of the Central Bicol languages, and the Central Bicol speakers can be found in all provinces of Bicol, and it is a majority language in Camarines Sur. The standard form is based on the Kanaman dialect. Okay, so for us to understand what each sentence mean, although they are written differently due to the variation of the dialect, this is translated to, bakit hindi lumipad ang ibon ni Pedro kahit na walang kandado ang kulungan? Or in English, it says, why didn't Peter's bird fly even though the cage had no locks? So let us discover the Kanaman dialect or the standard dialect. It reads, Tadaw taday luminayog an bayong ni Pedro, dawa na day nin kandado si Haula. So if we are going to see one by one the sentence structure and the words used in every sentences in the Naga City dialect, the Partido dialect, Tabaco, Legazpi, Sorsogon dialect, the Virac dialect, Daet dialect, the Rinconada or Bicol language, and the Sorsogon language or the Pisacol, we can see that there are terms that are different from one another. Like when we say tadaw taday, or when we say bakit hindi. In Naga City, it is tiano daw. When like the grammatical markers or the articles si, we have su and an, and these are some of the variations in the languages in the dialects of Central Bicol or the Bicol region. Let us read the Partido dialect and compare it with the Tabaco, Legazpi, Sorsogon. The Partido dialect says, Hadaw ta inaglayog an gamgam in Pedro maski nin kandado su Haula. However, in the Tabaco, Legazpi, Sorsogon dialect, it is stated this way. Nata daw taday naglayog an bayong ni Pedro maski wara nin kandado su Haula. And if you can notice, there are some words or terms that are we can hear in Ilonggo, we can hear in Waray, we can hear in the Tagalogs, we can hear in the Cebuano, because as I have mentioned, the Bicol language is already influenced by its surrounding neighboring regions. Central Bicol features some vocabularies that are not found in other Bicol languages nor to other members of the Central Philippine languages like the Tagalog and Cebuano. So this is one of the reasons why, although they are all under the banner of the Bicol language, they still misunderstand each other because of the differences in terms. Here is another example showing the differences and the variation of the dialects in Bicol region. The sentence says here translates to, dito sa bagong mesa, pinakain ng itlog at tinapay ang babae. Again, we will have the Kanaman Bicol as the standard language or dialect. It says, digdi sa bagong lamesa, pinakakan nin sugok asin tinapay ang babae. Let us discover the differences in terms. In the standing Bicol, the Kanaman, in the Naga version, in the Legazpi, in Daet, Virac, they use the word digdi for the word dito. For the word pinakain, in Kanaman, they use the word pinakakan. In Naga, they use pigpakakan. In Partido, they use the word tigpakakan. In Legazpi, they say pigpakaon. In Daet, they say it pinakain, just like in Tagalog. In the Virac, they use the word pinakaon. In Rinconada, they also use the word pinakaon, and in the Miraya version, they say it as pigapakaon. With these words alone, we can see the differences and the variation of the different dialects. And this tells us the varied and the beautiful language of the Bikol language, although varied but still beautiful. Like other Philippine languages, Bicol has a number of loan words. Largely Spanish as a result of 333 years of Spanish rule in the Philippines. This includes the words suerte or luck, carne as in meat, investigador, which is investigador in Spanish or investigator in English. We also have litro or liter, pero or but, and krimen. Another source of loanwords is Sanskrit, with words like hade or king and bahala, responsibility, and karma. Let us now begin the sentence structure or the syntax of the Bicol language. As we have discovered a while ago, there are variants, there are various Bicolano dialects, and sometimes they also differ in syntax or structure. In this sense, we will focus on the central Bicol language, and we will begin with the grammatical markers. According to Malcolm Mintz in Bicol Grammar Notes written in 1971, Bicol has a set of 3 basic classes of grammatical markers, which is si, ni, and ki, and one set that marks location or locative, or we will call it as loc. So these grammatical markers are like the articles in the English sentence determining the subject of the sentence. Nouns and phrases that follow the C-class markers are always the focus of attention in the sentence or the subject, or when we say see. Next, we have nouns and phrases that follow the ni and the ki class markers but are never the focus of the attention in the sentence. They always play the some subordinate role. So si appears before proper names of the animate nouns. This has a variation such as an and su. So let us have some examples for the grammatical markers si in the sentence. Inapod ko si Jose. It marks the subject of the sentence, which is Jose. One of these variation is an, or kinuha mo an lapis, or did you take a pencil? And also we have ni. Ni has 3 grammatical variations or basic forms as well, which is ni, nin, and kan. Ki has 3 basic forms as well, which is ki, nin, and kan. Let us have some examples. In ni, inapod ka ni Jose, or inapod ako nin maestro. Inapod ako kan principal. And for the grammatical marker ki, it can be used in a sentence such as nag-apod ako ki Jose. Nag-apod ako nin doktor. Nagamit ako kan lapis. So these 3 grammatical markers, the si, ni, and ki, are widely used as grammatical markers in the Bicol language. Let us move on to the personal pronouns and anchor this to the grammatical markers that we have just discussed, the si, ni, ki, and loc. So this still takes on the principles in the English use of personal pronouns in the first person, second person, and the third person. For the singular, of course, we have ako. For the second person, we have ika or ka. Third person singular, siya. The same thing with the plural, inclusive, and exclusive. First person, we have kita, including everyone. Kami, excluding the second person. Or the third plural, sinda, ninda, or sainda. Let us now go to the phrase structure or syntax for the verb phrase and the noun phrase. These two phrases are the basic structure in constructing a sentence. So we will begin with this. In constructing a verb phrase, we begin with a verb affix, the tense, and plus the verb base. Example, as shown in the tree diagram, we have the verb affix on, the tense is past, and the verb base is apod. So this tells the word inapod or in Cebuan, giuban. In noun phrase, the formula is noun phrase is equal to marker plus either noun, adjective, and verb phrase with an option of another noun phrase. Example is shown is marker plus noun or si Jose. Another one is marker plus adjective is ni hangkaw. So that is the formula for the verb phrase and the noun phrase in the Bikol language. Let us now go to the sentence pattern in the Bikol language. Bikol has two types of sentence patterns, which is the verbal and the equational. The verbal sentence consists of a verb phrase and either one or two main noun phrases. So if the verb base is intransitive, then there is only one noun phrase. If the verb base is transitive, then there are two. And here is the formula for the verbal sentence pattern. It is sentence is equals to verb phrase plus noun phrase plus an optional another noun phrase. For the equational sentence, it consists of two noun phrases which are set equal to each other. Both of the noun phrases are equally the focus of attention in the sentence, and so both are introduced by the markers of the C class. So the sentence structure for this is noun phrase plus noun phrase. Now there are also instances wherein these two sentence patterns are used together. So the alternative sentence pattern is verb phrase plus noun phrase plus another optional noun phrase, or noun phrase plus noun phrase. So this is the sentence pattern for the Bikol language. There are two general rules in sentence structure. If S is equal to NP plus NP, that is the sentence is equational, then the markers chosen for both noun phrase should be in the C class or among its variation. Now for the second rule, there are two parts for the transitive verb bases and the intransitive verb bases. For the transitive verb bases, if the affix chosen for the verb base is either on, e, or an, then for the noun phrases, one marker must be chosen from the C class and one from the ni class. And B, if the affix chosen for the verb base is mag, then for the noun phrase, one marker must be chosen from the C class and one from the ki class. The last rule says, for intransitive verb bases, the affix chosen for the verb base is mag, and the marker for the single noun phrase is always C. So these are the two general rules in constructing sentences in the Bikol language. So here is our basic sentence formula. It is as follows. Now let us have some examples. First, we will go with the verbal sentence structure. The sentence that we will be using is, nagbakal ako nin serbesa kaso udma. Now let us remember the formula for the verbal sentence. It is VP plus NP plus NP, and we have an additional of the time frame because the time frame is given. Then, it will be mag plus past form bakal, si, ki, serbesa, the time frame, so, udma. Therefore, the sentence will go on as, nagbakal ako nin serbesa kan su udma. However, we will revise it to make it grammatically correct. So, the sentence will go, nagbakal ako nin serbesa kaso udma. Did you get it? Now, let us have an example for the equational sentence pattern. It goes, serbesaan binakal ko sa saod. Do you remember the sentence structure? It goes, S equals NP plus NP, and there's an additional lock P. So, it will become, si serbesa, a noun phrase, si on, telling the tense, bakal, and we have the ni, lock, saod. So, rewriting it based on the combination rules, we will have an serbesa an in bakal ko sa saod. To make it grammatically correct, we have serbesa an binakal ko sa saod. There you have it. We have explored the background, the culture and traditions, and the geological distribution of the Bicol region. We also discussed the language classification of the area and dealt on the language structure of the Bikol language. For those who want to explore more on the language, link for the book Bicol Grammar Notes by Malcolm Mintz will be available on description below. Before we end this presentation, let's listen to an actual Bicol speaker using the language.
The essential Bicol language. Bicolano Central. Numbers: 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Greetings. Kumusta? Diyos maray na aga, Diyos maray na udto, Diyos maray na hapon, Diyos maray na banggi, maduman ako, madigdi na ako. The parable of the prodigal son.
Nagsabi pa si Jesus, igwanin sarong tao na may duwang aking lalaki. An nguhod nagsabi sa ama, Ama ko, tawa na sako an kahirasan ko. Kaya pinagbanga kan ama, sa duwang aki niya an sa iyang pagsadiri. Pakalihis ni nagkapirang aldaw, pinabakal kan nguhod an kahirasan niya dangan nagduman sa harayong lugar. Duman niya ginasto an kwarta sa maraot na pamumuhay. Naubos ang gabos niyang kwarta. Dangan nagkaigwanin makuring gutom sa lugar na ito, asin nagpuon man siyang magtios. Kaya nagdulok siya asin nagpatandan sa saro na tagaduman. Isinubol siya kaini sa iyang uma, tanganing mag-atamang kan mga urig. Buot kuta na niyang malaugan an sa iyang tulak, maski kan mga ibinabahog sa mga urig. Alagad mayo ni nagtao sa iya nin anuman. Kan makapag-isip-isip siya, nagsabi siya, Subraan kakanon kang gabos na tinatandana na trabahador, duman sa harong kan ama ko. Mantang ako magagadan digdi sa gutom. Mapuli ako sa sakuyang ama asin sasabihan ko siya, Ama ko, nagkasala ako sa Diyos asin sa imo. Bako na akong maninigo na apudon pang aki mo. Ibilang mo na sana akong saro kan sa imong mga tinatandana na trabahador. Kaya naglakaw siya papuli sa iyang ama. Harayo pa, natanawa na siya kan ama niya. Nahirak nin marahayan sa iyang ama, kaya nagdalagan ining nagsabat sa iya. Kinugos siya sa kahinadukan. Sinabihan kan akian sa iyang ama, Ama ko, nagkasala ako sa Diyos asin sa imo. Bako na akong maninigo na apudon pang aki mo. Ibilang mo na sana akong saro kan sa imo mga tinatandana na trabahador. Alagad inapud kan amaan sa iyang mga surugoon. Dali kamo, darahan nindo digdi ang pinakamarahay na gubing asin suulutan nindo sa iya. Singsingan nindo siya sa kasapatusan. dangan darahadigdi an pinatabang ugbo na baka asin bunua. Magugma kita, magbangkete kita, huli taan aki kong ini gadana, alagad ngunya nabuhay liwat, nawara, alagad na ko ana, kaya nagpuon sindang magurugma. Kan oras na iyan, an mato ang aki papuli na hali sa uma. Kan harani na siya sa harong, nakadangog siya nin musika asin sarayaw. Inapod niya ang saro kan mga surugoon, dangan hinapot kung ano ang nangyayari. Nagsimbag ang surugoon, nag-abot na ang tugang mo. Pinabuno kan sa imong ama ang pinatabang ugbo na baka, huli ta nakabalik siyang ligtas sa kabuhay. Naanggut an mato ang aki asin habong lumaog sa harong. Kaya nagluwasan sa iyang ama asin pinakiulayan siyang lumaog. Alagad sinabihan niya an sa iyang ama, hilingaman daw, pinaglingkudan taka sa haloy na panahon, asin daay ko linapas an sa imong kabutan. Alagad anuman lawang an itinao mo sako. Mayo, maski sarong sadit na kanding, tanganing magugma ako kaibakan sa kong mga katuod. Alagad pagpuli kan aki mong iyan na nagsayang kan sa imong pagsadiri sa mga maraot na babae, ipinabuno mo pa ang pinatabang ugbon na baka. Nagsimbag ang ama, aki ko, danay kang nasa kaibahan ko, asin sa imo ang gabos na sadiri ko. Alagad dapat kitang magbangkete sa kamag-ugma, hulit ang tugang mong inigadana, alagad na buhay liwat, nawara, alagad na ko ana.
We are now nearing the end of the presentation, but before that, let me share with you some words in the Bikol language. When you want to say sorry, you may say, pasensya na tabi. If you want to greet somebody, have a nice day, you may say, marhay na adlaw sa imo. Excuse me, makiagi, and you can say I love you in 3 different ways. Namumutan taka, padabata ka, and padanggata ka. My favorite word in the Bikol language is magayon, which means beautiful. What's yours? I hope you learned something from today's presentation. Let's explore more Philippine languages in the future. Before I go, let me say, Bako nanggad maninigo ansaro sang tataramon. One language is never enough. Thank you and God bless.